stuff.
Interrupt Sunava and Eric.
Just pretend like we're not here.
Pretend like you're not there.
I'm just joking.
Stop talking about the secret product plans.
So next, Internet Explorer 8, man.
Internet Explorer 8 is going to rock.
So who are you guys again, Dave?
I'm
the
Dave.
MC. You're the MC.
So this is Sunava. He's one of our program managers working in the area of object model, and this is Eric Lawrence, who's a program manager on networking and possibly one of our most technical program managers, the author of the tool Fiddler.
Good.
I think I mentioned the other day, and we're going to actually drill him on some of the networking changes and why IE7 is great from the networking perspective.
So what are these networking changes?
Well, first you should grab Katya, because I told her that she should stop by for her test team.
Cool.
To the left and the right. But so I assume this will be heavily edited.
No, it won't be edited at all.
No, it's live. Oh dear, now we're in trouble.
Well, this is Channel 9.
So
Editing doesn't happen.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't done a Channel 9 video before.
Cool.
Charles, you've got to come and get Katya's office because it was decorated.
It has been decorated.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't like to edit.
So this is Katya's
Holy.
office, and you can
My team decided to show their love for me while I was on a business trip.
Fantastic.
By foiling my office.
Wow. Can we turn the lights on so we can actually see it? Oh, we can't.
get some glitter.
There's
Wow.
about as much light as we can have here.
So you go on a vacation, or it was a work trip, and you come back to this.
That's right. This was, by all means, a...
Well, she's unwrapped some of her computers.
That's right. In the best
Very cool.
Microsoft tradition of people going away and then coming back to an absolutely destroyed office, this is what happened to
That's why you
mine.
never go on vacation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that just means they love you, right?
That also means that revenge is coming.
Yay! Got that? Cool.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're gonna talk networking turkey and
Okay,
stuff.
I'm coming over.
Wait, do you want to talk to my office or your
I
office?
think your couch was more comfortable.
Okay. My couch it is.
More light in that one. All right.
Okay.
So he ran away because he's afraid.
Yeah.
All right.
Sunava's afraid of some of the.
So we're gonna need to, unfortunately,
political career.
Turn
on
these
me.
monsters
That's
on.
fine.
Yeah.
There we go. More light than this office has seen in a while.
Cool.
It's unfortunately a lot dirtier than I would think. I think terribly scaring my whiteboard. No. Venkat, I think, is talking to the networking dudes.
Okay.
Okay.
So what's new in networking for IE7? I haven't heard much about networking changes. It's all been UI and security stuff.
Yeah, so the fundamental goal for the networking team is to make everything better. Hopefully you don't see anything with the networking itself because it just works. And so the primary thing we've been working on is fixing bugs. We've done major architectural improvements to decompression in particular. So IE6 had quite a few bugs in the decompression space, and we rewrote a lot of that code so that it should be a lot more stable. But in general, it's been a bug fix release for the networking team proper. We changed a lot of the caching code. We did some work around international domain names to support that throughout our stack. IPv6 support, which is an important thing for the upcoming internet standards for IPv6, and as more and more people deploy that, that's an important thing to work with. We've done some changes in our SSL layer, which is part of the networking layer. We've changed our defaults, so SSL2 is off by default, and TLS1 is on by default. We've added some additional extensions to TLS for improved performance and security, new cipher algorithms for stronger security, so you can get 256-bit encryption on Vista in Internet Explorer for the first time. But primarily it's been a release where we're trying to deliver the customer's bytes as quickly as possible and with a few bugs.
So we should talk about that, though. I mean, how much control over performance do you have at your level, at your layer? I mean, in the end, it's the operating system that's going to provide you with.
There's the thing you can get is performance problems anywhere in the stack, right? So if Internet Explorer is really slow at rendering, for instance, the user doesn't care whether his network is fast. He just wants really fast performance. And so Performance has gotten some attention, so we've fixed primarily caching issues. So caching is one of the most important things that you can do correctly for high performance. And one of the reasons I wrote Fiddler originally was to improve performance on one of our websites.
You wrote Fiddler?
Yes.
All right.
I have the dubious honor of having written Fiddler and responding to a lot of email about it over the years. But yeah, so it was written primarily to make the Office Online website faster. One of the things we determined is we didn't actually have good caching on our pages, and so by using Fiddler to figure out where the caching could improve things, we made the site a lot faster. And so that, of course, is one of it, but that requires the site owners to do things. From our side, there's a lot of things that we can do to ensure that files that are intended to be cached actually live longer in the cache, the correct amount of time, aren't prematurely deleted for functionality reasons, and so forth. So that's part of it. One of the other parts of it is the code itself. There's some performance issues in the code, and we made some improvements. Below us, as you alluded to, there's actually quite a big operating system component. And so one of the things for Windows Vista is they basically completely rewrote the TCP/IP stack. And one of the things that they added for that is what's called window scaling. And window scaling is a great technology in TCP/IP that allows you to sort of adapt to how fast your network connection is. So on a slow, high latency connection, you're going to get different packet sizes than you would on a high local connection. Now that has almost universally been a great thing for network performance. We actually have run into some glitches, and we're working with sites to make sure that those problems go away by the time of release. But that's one of the major performance things that we'll see for the networking stack.
So how do you test all of this stuff? Is that what your role is? Did we introduce you yet?
I don't think so.
So we should introduce you.
My name is Katya Sidova, and I'm one of the SDET leads for the Internet Explorer networking team.
Okay.
And my team primarily tests the download functionality, parsing functionality in the browser, but obviously goes up and down the stack as much as necessary. How do we test? Gingerly, without making sure that we don't break the internet, and it's a big job.
That's interesting. So we won't break the internet. So in other words, you're not making so many. You're not writing a tool that just floods the internet with requests or packets. Is that what you mean?
There's several several layers on how we test this stuff, and I mean there's lots of different areas that we have to test. So one of the major priorities for us is to test in a secure way and test the security features that we're providing without breaking compatibility with a lot of websites and a lot of applications that rely upon us. So we use fuzzing fairly widely to ensure that the security issues get fleshed out early on, and we also have a wide variety of matrices that we automate. We use modeling technologies for ensuring that the state machine is modeled, and we hit as many permutations of various combinations of states as we can.
Very cool.
So most of our testing is by and large automated.
Excellent. With tools that you write. Right?
With some of the tools that Microsoft is investing in as well on a wider scale. We also do a lot of more in-depth API testing. So, I mean, it varies. Our approach is very widely, but we're playing a lot with modeling methodology that hasn't been widely used out there in the industry, and it's proven to be quite successful.
Fantastic. Very cool.
Related to that, though, when you're testing something the size of essentially the internet, including all networking hardware and all websites in the entire planet, there's certainly things that we can't get to and see, and that's where our beta program has been very productive for this release. So we get lots of bugs through Connect, and we get to hear about configurations that we internally would never actually be able to find. Obscure networking hardware P with website Q and user login X. We can't simulate those internally, so the beta feedback has been really critical to ensuring that the broadest compatibility possible.
Very cool. So now, Dave, we were talking the other tour about the 2 connection limit.
Yes.
You said this is the guy to talk to about
yes.
this. So let's talk about that.
Sure.
A, why, and B, how to get around it?
So the 2 connection limit comes actually from the standards, which it's sort of ironic. It's an area that is always controversial. The HTTP RFC 2616 suggests that user agents should make no more than 2 persistent connections to an HTTP 1.1 server. And the idea is you don't want to have a server just get totally pounded by a small number of user agents. Some of the other browsers out there have determined that they get significantly improved performance by kicking that connection limit up to 8, which they do by default now in their newest releases. We chose not to do that in the IE7 release. It is something we're going to be looking at for future releases. The problem for us, of course, is that there are a significantly large number of clients that are Internet Explorer, and so our change of the default will actually probably end up reshaping the traffic of the internet. So we have to be very pragmatic and very cautious about what we change. That being said, I personally am a fan of increasing the connection limit, and Internet Explorer has the flexibility of doing so. So there's actually a registry key which controls the number of connections. And so just to give a little more background about what this means. So when you're going to a website, your computer will open 1 or more TCP/IP connections to that server to download resources. Now on a typical website, you're going to get resources from maybe the main server and maybe an image server and maybe an ad server and maybe a few other things. But on many websites, you're downloading primarily from a single server. And so you don't want to open a connection for each resource because establishing a connection is actually kind of a slow operation. But by the same token, you want to ensure that you have sufficient connections that they're all downloading in a relatively performant way, so that if there's one resource that's really slow, for instance, maybe generating a hit counter is very expensive for some reason, that the rest of the page isn't waiting for that to come down. And so it's in those cases where having more connections per server is helpful. And so essentially what you can do inside Internet Explorer using the registry is actually up that limit to something that's more reasonable. So for people on broadband, it actually probably does make sense to increase that limit. And so if you go to, I posted on the blog about this about 2 years ago, I think, but in order to make things a little easier for people, if you go to the site enhancei.com, enhancei.com, I've actually got a collection of tools and tweaks and utilities for IE7. And one of those is called IE Toys, and it installs some cool little plugins for IE where you can like right-click and delete all the images from a page, which is pretty useful if you're reading the paper and things like that. But there's also a standalone script which will actually change the max connections per server value to 16. And so if you're doing a lot of downloads, for instance, if you're at a site, vacation, whatever, and you want to right-click and download a lot of clips, you can actually get, typically what will happen is IE will allow you to right-click, save target as, right-click, save target as, and the third time you do it, it just sits there waiting until a connection is free. Well, once you've made this change and restarted your browser, you can actually do that up to 16 times. And so, again, we're going to be looking at this as an improved default for a future version of IE, being very careful not to destroy the internet. But for folks on broadband who are, in the, I imagine, somewhat elite set who are watching this type of video on Channel 9, we could probably pretty safely tell them the secret for improved performance.
Excellent. Well, that's fantastic. Even I had I thought it was mainly just making requests out to various sites, right? So if I wanted to write code that really did some Ajax-y stuff where I had 16 to 18 simultaneous requests, this is a different problem.
It is, and it is, and it's not. So here's where it gets interesting. It's a connections per server limit. Your proxy server counts. If you're on a fixed proxy where you've manually specified, I want to go to proxy A on port 80 or proxy A on port 8888 or whatever it is, that connection limit counts. And that's where actually it hurts quite a bit. Because in the Internet Explorer, if you've got 8 tabs, all targeted at the same proxy, unless you have a load balancing proxy server auto configuration script, which is what we have internally at Microsoft, and some other major companies do. But if you're pointed at a fixed proxy, we make that connection limit per process to the proxy. The other thing which I didn't specify earlier is it's per process. So if you've got multiple Internet Explorer instances, each of them is getting 2 in theory. But the downside, of course, is that with tabs, people are way more likely to reuse an existing process. And so for that reason, it's appropriate to actually reconsider that default. And that's something we're going to be doing in the future. Because
a tab is the same thing as window.open, right? It's not a new instance. It's not a new process.
In general, yes. Window.open will always open in the in an existing process in current versions of IE. And in fact, even in IE6, you're still in the same process. And there's a lot of reasons why, including sharing cookies between. But yeah, It's only when you click the blue E where you actually start to get new processes. And so if you look in your task list, you'll see multiple instances of iExplore.exe.
Sure. Excellent.
Cool. So what feature are you guys most pleased with and happy about in IE7?
Oh, I love CERL, but I'm even more passionate about IDN. The fact that we've enabled the world to really be marketable on the internet, to be able to have business done in all the languages of the world, that is a pretty remarkable feat.
So, but can you explain this feature a little bit? IDN?
IDN is International Domain Names, and what that means is that any company out there that wants its domain name to be in its language can now do so. They can now register a domain name, and moreover, Internet Explorer will be supporting browsing to that domain name and actually rendering it.
Excellent.
Whereas we couldn't before.
Wow, I
It's
wasn't
the
aware
World
of that.
Wide Web.
That's right.
It is.
It's
Good
finally
point.
putting the world into the World Wide Web.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And let me guess, networking?
Well, in terms of sheer impact, actually, I agree that IDN is the big feature. And, the big challenge with it is doing it securely, because we could have plugged this implementation in quite a while ago. But you have what's called a homograph attack, where one character looks like another character. And if you're not very sensitive and very careful about how you represent these things to the users, they could be spoofed. So, for instance, you have an attack where PayPal contains a Cyrillic A, which looks exactly the same as an ASCII A, which is what, most American systems are using. And so you've got these look-alike sites. And so we had to be very careful to actually be very clear when international domain names are in use and combat. And of course our phishing filter is a good defense in depth against that. So IDN, I think overall worldwide, that's the thing where, people that I've never met, will think our browser's great because of it. But yeah, personally, I think that the fixes we've taken in networking, they definitely make my life easier, because when something in networking breaks, they call me on the phone, and it gets to the point. There you have it.
Bummer. That's perfect.
It's IE6.
Wow,
It's kind of creepy,
what timing.
actually. But yeah, so we've had a lot of issues in the past couple of weeks where people come to us and they say, hey, we have this problem with IE6. It's got this behavior we don't like, and we ask them, hey, does the behavior exist in IE7? And they say, no, you fixed it. And the immediate thing is, well, just bring it down. It's easy, right? And the answer is, we did a ton of work in IE7, and so it's definitely a good platform moving forward. And we look forward to IE8 when we're going to do even better stuff.
Excellent. I mean, I think that's a great point that we has been implicit in the tour that we've done over the last few days. Is you guys have done a huge amount of work. It's not just tabs and UI, which is great, but you've hardcore re-engineered IE,
Absolutely.
as opposed to putting band-aids on the broken MS-HTML and Trident story. So that's awesome. And it's not necessarily broken, but I just said that just to get Dave mad.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Well,
we made a lot of security improvements
Absolutely.
to the browser, and a lot of fairly in-depth architectural features that will improve the experience and should make people feel more secure about using the browser.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And like most good engineering projects, you guys, I'm assuming, built a foundation for the future iterations of IE. So now IE may become more modular, may become more whatever. You laid the groundwork, the framework.
We've started
right?
down the path of some very important engineering changes. We're looking forward to future releases with even bigger things, but fundamentally, yes, it's a dramatic improvement. And one of the things that, again, I'd like to thank the Channel 9 guys for is when I took over the HTTP stack, one of the first things I did is I went to the Internet Explorer bugs page on Channel 9.
All right.
I went to the HTTP subpage, and I went through one by one by one by one.
Sweet.
And there were a ton of issues that we've taken care of for IE7. There's a couple issues left to go. Some of them are really big and important, some of them not so much. But we're definitely looking at your feedback, and it's very important because, again, we're relatively, compared to the number of users we have, a small team. So
Awesome.
understanding what's biting people most is very important to scheduling our work for the
Excellent.
future.
And I mean, I must say that at some point, Niners have been like, so do Microsoft people really spend any time here? But here's a case where obviously, and there's other cases as well, but we don't really have the feedback
Yeah.
for you to come on into the wiki, although we do. You should become a Niner.
You should. I've posted responses to some of them. I say fixed in 7,
Beautiful.
or this scenario is a little more complicated. It's a little hard because the mechanism is a little more freeform, perhaps.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's great because of its freeformness, we actually see issues there that nobody else complains about. Or occasionally we'll see something that'll be in the blog, but when blog posts are blog posts unfortunately can't be cleaned up at any point, and so they're not the rich source of information that Channel 9 provides.
You're going to be able to you should be able to already subscribe to specific wiki entry RSS.
That's cool. I've never
But
done
unfortunately, you can't right now.
Okay.
Because we're based on crappy source code. With no due respect, with all due respect to the Flex Wiki people, but we're using very alpha bits of their code, and it's terrible. And so we're actually going to redo it all.
Cool.
And we're going to make it easier for Microsoft people to interact in a meaningful way.
Great.
So you can subscribe to a wiki entry.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, it would be.
All right.
Good stuff.
So
Well, very
you guys
cool.
are ready to ship IE7?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you ready?
Yeah.
Sign off?
Yeehaw.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Coming.
Nice to meet you guys.
Thanks
Great work.
very
Nice to
guys.
meet you. Thank you.
Thanks,
You have
guys.
a product manager who. Unless I want to just say this though, because I was kind of ragging on product managers. But you're actually a guy who's not just marketing, but
Yeah.
your vision.
This is new for me. I've been in test for the last 5 years. I'm coming into this. I'm not really interested in a lot of the big marketing speak. It's not something I've ever really done a whole lot of. I want to look at how we can make IE the best place to be for developers. That's
Good.
where we want to be.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So get your butt on Channel 9. Man.
All right, I
No,
will.
I'm playing.
Hey, aren't I
right.
here now?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. And
Ooh. Okay.
and
Cool. Nice to meet you. I think we have to go.
Bye.
Let you guys get back to work.
Let's see who else we can find.
Cool. Well,
So what do we want to do now?
the battery's still green, so I think we're a little bit lucky. But it hasn't turned yellow yet, so we got to be careful.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
We've done.
not just gonna
that
suddenly
was
go
a
off
great
on us.
conversation. So
I think so.
Yeah.
There's one more guy I think we might try and find to talk about open search, because I think search is
why don't we
one
just
of
we could
those-
just like run in, just walk in on Dean.
Dean's out of the office at the moment.
Is
He's
he?
back in tomorrow.
Okay.
Can't walk on in on.
Well, we could try. It
Yeah.
would just be a really empty office.
It would,
Exactly.
It would. And Alan's not there, so we won't walk in.
Hi.
Hey, see you again. Hi. That was an architect, right?
That was Robert Goo, who was
Yeah.
the protective mode man.
Protected mode, man, which is great. I should have asked him why all applications can't run in protected mode.
But
You'd know
they
that
can,
answer.
but it means a lot of work.
It does. Well, the tour has come to an end.
Okay, tour's come to an end.
But you were saying that there's some kind of contest going on?
Yeah, so one of the cool things we've got coming up is the add-on contest. So if you've played with IE7 at all, you know that there's some pretty cool add-ons that you can check out. If you check out www.ieaddons.com, we've got some really cool add-ons. But we want more. We want some more really cool ones. So we're opening up a contest that we're going to officially announce on the 18th. That's going to open up on November 1st.
Okay.
And if you produce the best add-on, we're going to give you $2,500 cash and a trip to Mix this year.
Wow.
And so that's a pretty sweet little deal to get to go to Mix.
Is it an international
It's
contest?
international, open to anyone in the world.
All right. Because
So-
a lot of people want to come to Mix, but they think it's kind of far away. So here's an opportunity
This
for
is
them.
this is a great way to get to Mix. Get a little bit of money for some spending money while you're
In
there.
Vegas?
And you know, a pretty cool contest because the add-ons are really, they're a great place to be in. They're a great way to extend IE today.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can find some people who can do some really cool stuff and make the experience better, we're rocking.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being our MC, Mr. Massey.
It was an entire pleasure, Charles. I hope
Excellent.
everybody enjoyed this. We had a lot of fun just walking the hallways and seeing who we could find.
Good.
You guys should come back over again soon, and
We would.
We'll update you on progress of future versions of IE. 'cause,
Absolutely.
we're not done. We're we're back with a vengeance, and we're thinking about the next 2 versions as we speak.
Beautiful. All right, well, see you on Channel 9.